What is up, guys? It is your host, Benjamin Camperman, coming at you with the early keys that I see that the 49ers need to do in order to beat the Chiefs in this Super Bowl. Obviously, I just talked about Brock Purdy's legacy and what winning it would do to his legacy. Now I'm going to get to the keys to this game. So let's start with the offensive keys on the Niners, the 49ers offense, what they need to do on offense to beat this Chiefs team, this Chiefs defense, which in previous weeks has been doing really, really well. Obviously, like we said, like I've mentioned before, they shut down Lamar Jackson, an MVP. They shut him down last week, held the Ravens to just 10 points when this Ravens offense was one of the best in the league. So, and obviously the Chiefs have Steve Spagnuolo, the best defensive coordinator in the league. So this is going to be a tough test to match up and score against this Chiefs defense, but I'm going to give you a key to how they should do it. This one should be an obvious key. If you've watched other Niners content creators' channels, they all say the same thing. It's run the ball. This is an obvious key. Derek Nottie, the Chiefs defensive tackle and really the center of their defensive line, he is the best run stopper. He is their run stopper on this defensive line, and he is not going to be playing in this game because he got injured. And so that leaves the Chiefs a little bit vulnerable in the middle of the defensive line. And we know, obviously, last week that the Ravens, the reason why they lost that game is because they only ran the ball. I don't even know. I think their main back, Gus Edwards, he only ran the ball 6 times. So the Ravens did not run the ball enough against this Chiefs team. And this is a Chiefs team. My bad, guys. This is a Chiefs team that is very vulnerable against the run. A Chiefs defense that is very vulnerable against the run. Obviously, like I said, Derek Nottie is out. He was their top run stopper. Without Derek Nottie, they replaced Derek Nottie with Tershawn Warden, who has a 47.7 run defense grade on PFF. And for the average viewer, you guys might say, okay, how good is a 47.7 PFF grade? And that is, to answer the average viewer's question, a 47.7 PFF grade is a terrible grade for a defensive tackle. Basically, among all defensive tackles in the league, there are 137 that have registered with PFF, and Tershawn Warden in the run defense ranks 95th out of 137. So he's not even middle of the pack when it comes to stopping the run. He is bottom of the league, a terrible run stopper. And that is the guy who is replacing Derek Nottie, their defensive tackle. So that should be one key right there, is they're going to have a hard time, the Chiefs, stopping the run. All year, they've allowed 4.5 yards per carry, which is one of the worst in the league. So it's obvious. The Niners need to run the ball. And the reason why is because you don't want to go down in 3rd and long situations, because the Chiefs, the reason why they beat the Ravens last week is because they can blitz you from anywhere. They come up with really, really, really easy or hard blitz packages for the quarterback to read. And so, and Spagnuolo on 3rd and longs, you bet that the Chiefs, Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator, is going to be dialing up blitzes on Brock Purdy if the 49ers get in 3rd and long situations. So you don't want to get in that 3rd and long situation. And by running the ball on 1st and 2nd down, it allows you to get in like a 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4. And when you're in that situation, the defense really doesn't know what you're going to do, because you don't necessarily have to pass it. They don't know what kind of pass you're going to do. It really doesn't even have to be downfield, the pass. So that's one thing. And what the Chiefs defense might do to the 49ers on 1st and 2nd down is they might load the box. My response to that is, I don't care how many people, what formation the Chiefs show. I don't care if the Chiefs show single high safety. I don't care if the Chiefs load 10 guys within the 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. The Niners just need to force the run down the Chiefs' throat, because the run game might not be successful at first, But like any physical football game, if you run the ball enough, the defense is eventually going to wear down. So running the ball early, and even if it doesn't work right away, stick to running the ball at least for the first quarter, because I guarantee you eventually they're going to break off a big run with Christian McCaffrey. The Niners have one of the best running backs in the league. So run the ball. That should be an obvious key. Now let's get to another real quick key that I saw on the offense. Again, I won't make this too long. I'm going to try to keep it under 15 minutes. But this should be a big key that every Niners fan is thinking about. Chiefs defensive end George Karlaftis is most likely going to be going one-on-one with Colton McKivitz, our right tackle, the 49ers right tackle on the offensive line. The reason why this is such a big key is if you look at where Jones, the Chiefs' star defensive tackle pass rusher, lines up. I have it here. Primarily, George Karlaftis, the defensive end for the Chiefs, he lines primarily up. He plays most of his snaps on the right side. And if you look at Chris Jones, the Chiefs' defensive tackle, he lines up mostly on the right side as well. So two of the Chiefs' top pass rushers both line up on the right side. And Chris Jones is going to demand double coverage from Jake Brendel, our center, and from our guard. And so if Chris Jones, John Feliciano, our guard. So if Chris Jones commands double teams, because he's one of the best defensive tackles in the league, if he commands double teams on our center and our guard on the right side, and George Karlaftis, who is a good defensive end, is also lined up on the right side, he is going to be going one-on-one versus Colton McKivitz. And all Niners fans know Colton McKivitz against the pass rush this year has been very questionable. To give you some of the George Karlaftis' stats, to give you some of his stats, this guy has had 11 sacks. That's tied for 18th in the league. So he is a good defensive end, a good pass rusher. And his win rate, whenever he goes up against an offensive lineman, his pressure rate is about 14%, which is top. That's a good number. 14% is top 20 in the league or top 40 in the league for defensive ends, which means he is a borderline number one defensive end on a team. So a 14% win rate is really good. And so that's one matchup that I'm generally scared about. I'm wondering how the 49ers are going to fix this, because you're going to see a lot of one-on-ones between these two players. I expect a possible solution the Niners could use. I suspect or expect them to maybe use George Kittle to double Karlaftis, especially on first or second passing downs. That could be a possible solution. Or doing a lot of bootlegs to the opposite side of the field of where Karlaftis, or the opposite side of the field more towards Trent Williams, our left tackle. So those are two possible solutions. You could see George Kittle just being a lot more of a pass blocker in this game, maybe chipping Karlaftis to the inside where he pushes him more to the inside of Colton McKivitz. But that is going to be a huge key. Karlaftis versus Colton McKivitz. And again, it's not even like Karlaftis is much of a good run stopper. He's good in the pass game, but he's not a great run stopper. His run defense grade is 61.6 on PFF, which is ranked 61st out of 112 edge rushers graded in PFF. So his run defense is not good amongst defensive ends. And so I think when the 49ers do run the ball, outside zone schemes, I was talking earlier about the inside is very vulnerable for the Chiefs. The outside of the defensive line is very vulnerable for the Chiefs. Karlaftis isn't good at stopping the run either. So when the Niners run the ball outside run scheme, they're going to run the ball to that right side because that is where they're weak, Karlaftis on the defensive end. So that is one key that I think is worth. So now let's get to some defensive keys. Again, guys, if the full breakdown of this game, I will be breaking it down. Niner Fanatic podcast, Pete Lucas from Niner Fanatic podcast, me and him going live Thursday night. So don't miss that. But some defensive keys that I've kind of the early look at this game have shown to me is I think the Niners need to go with a 5-man front. I would on first down put Kalia Davis on and kick Armstead outside to the defensive end position and potentially put Randy Gregory out as a defensive end as well. Maybe put Kinlaw in there sometimes to replace Javon Hargrave, who isn't a great run stopper. So expect a lot more 5-man fronts from the 49ers because that will allow them to stop the run. The 49ers, obviously, just like the Chiefs, are very vulnerable against the run. They allow a lot of yards. I believe they're allowing like 5.6 yards per carry in this playoff run that the 49ers have had. So they are not good at stopping the run. And I think the way to stop the run is to, on first and second downs, is to put more defensive tackles in, kick Eric Armstead out to edge instead of defensive tackle, edge rusher instead of defensive tackle, put more 5-man fronts on there. But it's also going to be up to Fred Warner, our linebacker, and Dre Greenlaw, our other linebacker, to plug the A and B gaps between the center and the guard. And so Isaiah Pacheco, the Chiefs running back who had a huge game up the middle, running it up the middle against the Ravens, it's going to be up to Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner to plug those A and B gaps. And you bet that the Chiefs are going to try to run it on first and second down because that's what up the middle on first and second down, because that's what they did against the Ravens and they had huge success. So the Niners, it's going to be up to their linebackers to kind of plug those gaps between the center and the guard. And so he won't be able to run up the middle, Isaiah Pacheco. I'm almost wondering if going to 5, because one thing that the Niners have struggled with this year or these playoffs is the outside zone run as well. Their defense has struggled against setting the edge in the run game. And I'm wondering if playing a 5-man front will kind of help with setting the edge better. And like I said, putting Randy Gregory to the outside. We've obviously seen the starting defensive end, Chase Young, is absolutely terrible at setting the edge. So I'm wondering if on first and second down, taking Chase Young off, putting Randy Gregory on to more set the edge, because that is going to be a key thing as well, is not giving up that outside area of the field where Pacheco, who's got speed, can just rip you up. So, I mean, not only are we going to have struggles on the inside zone run game, stopping the Chiefs inside zone run game, but our defense is also going to have struggles stopping the Chiefs outside zone run game. Another thing is on third down, what I would do to kind of get some pressure on Mahomes. We've seen that if you can get some pressure on Mahomes quick, he's good at dealing with pressure, but at the same time, it speeds up the way he has to think. So getting pressure on Mahomes, if you get into third down situations, what I would do is I would send Jair Brown to blitz. Jair Brown's a fast player. He's a playmaker. He's a hard hitter. I would send Jair Brown to the box and blitz. Because yes, the Chiefs could beat you deep with their receivers, but I trust that our corners, I trust that if we get to Patrick Mahomes quick enough, the Chiefs won't even have a chance to go deep, right? And I trust that for the 3 seconds that Patrick Mahomes has the ball in his hands, I trust that Charvarius Ward and Deommodore Lenoir, Charvarius Ward is going to be against Rashee Rice. Charvarius Ward is going to be against Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Deommodore Lenoir is going to be more against Rashee Rice, their top 2 receivers. I trust that those 2 corners are able to hold up in the pass game for long enough to where on third down we can get to Mahomes and maybe get a sack, maybe get a pressure, speed his internal clock up a little bit. And so I trust that our corners can contain on those receivers. And another kind of suggestion that I would do is on third down, take Ambry Thomas off the field and kick DeMajor Lenore to the outside and put a third linebacker on the field instead of having Ambry Thomas as a cornerback. Put a third linebacker on the field to kind of shut down and cover a little bit more of the middle of the field, which is where Travis Kelce likes to get a lot of his targets and likes to get a lot of his yards. So the 49ers, a lot of keys in this game, but I just laid out a few on offense and defense. Again, I would expect a lot more five-man fronts. I would expect a lot more disguise blitzes. I would expect a lot more different looks that we haven't seen all year. A lot more blitzes. I would expect a lot more three linebacker sets. Those are all things that I would expect in this game because, frankly, the 49ers have not done great in the first half of games. They haven't done great. And so they need to come out firing on all cylinders if they're going to beat Patrick Mahomes in this game. I am going to reserve my final score predictions for next Saturday night when I will be going live with Jay in the Bay. You'll see my final score predictions for this Super Bowl game, but those are some keys that I have kind of seen that the Niners need to do. And let me know what you guys think.